First is the argument that you've heard before, and I have no doubt you'll hear again, that the subpoenas issued by the House are invalid. Well, that's really wonderful. I imagine when you issue subpoenas, they will declare yours invalid as well. What's the basis of the claim they're invalid? Well, because they weren't issued the way the president wants. Part of the argument is you have to issue a subpoena the way we say, and that can only be done after there is a resolution that we approve of adopted by the full House. First, they complained there was no resolution, no formal resolution of the impeachment inquiry, and then when we passed a formal resolution, they complained about that. They complained when we didn't have one, they complained when we did have one. Well, you know, they made that argument already in court, and they lost. In the McGahn case, they similarly argued this subpoena for Mr. McGahn is invalid. And you know what the judge said? Essentially, that's nonsense. The president doesn't get to decide how the House conducts an impeachment proceeding. The president doesn't get to decide whether a subpoena it issues is it valid or invalid. No, the House gets to decide because the House is given the sole power of impeachment, not the President of the United States. Now, counsel says, why are we going through all these documents? Aren't all these motions the same? And the fact of the matter is, we're not talking about the same documents here. They would like nothing better than for you to know nothing about the documents we seek. They don't want you to know what Defense Department documents they're withholding. Yeah, of course they don't want to hear that. They don't want you to know what State Department documents are they, because if it's just abstract, if it's just we're here arguing for documents, well, they can say, well, that's really not that important, right? It's just some generic thing. But when you learn, as you have learned today and tonight, what those documents are, when you see the efforts to conceal those Freedom of Information Act emails that my colleague, Mr. Crow, just referred to, and you see what was released to the public, and it's all redacted, and we find out what's under those redactions, and wow, surprise, it's incriminating information they have redacted out. That is not supposed to be the basis for redaction under the Freedom of Information Act. That's what we call a cover-up. They didn't want you to see that today. They didn't want you to see the before and the after, the redacted and the non-redacted. They didn't want you to hear from these witnesses about the detailed personal notes that they took. Ambassador Taylor took detailed personal notes. Now, they want to try to contest what Ambassador Sondland said about his conversations with the president. Because Sondland, after he talked with the president, talked directly with Ambassador Taylor and talked directly with Mr. Morrison and explained his conversation with the president. Well, guess what? Mr. Morrison and Ambassador Taylor took detailed notes. There's a dispute about what the president told Mr. Sondland. Wouldn't you like to see the notes? They don't want you to know the notes exist. They don't want to have this debate. They'd rather just argue, no, it's just about documents. It's just about when. We want the senators after 16 hours of questions before they can see any of this stuff. And you know what? Then we're going to move to dismiss the case. The when, as I said earlier, means never. And finally, the Clinton precedent. President Clinton turned over 90,000 pages of documents before the trial. I agree. Let's follow the Clinton precedent. It's not even going to take 90,000 documents. The documents are already collected. You heard the testimony on the screen of Ambassador Taylor saying, oh, they're going to be turned over shortly. Well, we're still waiting, but they're still sitting there at the State Department. We didn't play a video for you of Secretary Esper on one of the Sunday shows saying, oh, we're going to comply with these subpoenas. Well, that was 1 week. And then somebody got to him, and all of a sudden he was singing a different tune. Yeah, they don't want you to know what these documents hold. And yes, we're showing you what these witnesses can tell you. We're showing you what Mulvaney could tell you. And yeah, we're making it hard for you. We're making it hard for you to say no. We're making it hard for you to say, I don't want to hear from these people. I don't want to see these documents. We're making it hard. It's not our job to make it easy for you. It's our job to make it hard to deprive the American people of a fair trial. And that's why we're taking the time to do it. I yield back.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.